Okay, so here's the problem with the whole Gen Z, Gen X, millennial, boomer, whatever debate. Everybody's missed this. Everybody wants to try to put a calendar date and say you're generally this type of person based on what year you were born to what year a next group of people were born. I don't know why. It makes no sense. It has nothing to do with the year. None. So if you really think about it, someone who was born in 1981, like myself, in America, is going to have a different lifestyle and going to be raised completely different than somebody who was born in an Amazonian village deep in the jungle, right? Same year, completely different upbringing. So the calendar year thing makes no sense whatsoever. I believe it has to do with if you were raised on VHS tapes or not. Because if you came into the VHS era and lived through it and currently still living, which I assume you are, you're different. The people before us on the VHS era, they didn't have as many things to adapt to. They didn't have as many changes to go through. They had it harder, but they didn't have that big of differences to adjust. They had some. They went from picking their own crops to a tractor to a different type of tractor. That wasn't a lot of differences. The generation after the VHSs, the DVD or the digital video, they didn't have to transition as much. Younger generation today have to adapt to the new iPhone. They're still going from an iPhone to an iPhone. So if you think about the VHS generation, we went from the VHS tapes to DVDs to digital video. Our music, borrowed hand-me-down 8-track to a superior cassette tape to CDs. The computer, floppy disk, hard disk, scan disk, the cloud. The fact is, these were drastic differences in technological advancement and how we did everything. So we had to adjust along the way several times. Phones, home phone, pay phones, bag phone, cell phone, Nokia playing the snake, you know, to the iPhone. That's a lot of change in a relatively short period of time. So when it comes to our Darwinian evolution of survival and adapting, the VHS generation had to adapt more than any of them. That generation of people are built different. Yeah, people talk about the last to go outside and play till nighttime and all that good stuff. That's true, because our technology was different. Just think about the VHS generation and just watching a movie. You had to physically get up, put this cassette into a VCR, listen for the clunky sounds, hit play, hit the little tracking button to take the little squiggly lines out of the bottom. That was effort. That was work. If you went to the video rental store to rent a movie on a Friday night, you had to return it. What's the sticker on the cassette? Be kind, please rewind. There is built-in courtesy just to return a video. That's a character trait, being courteous. You didn't want to be the jerk who didn't rewind the movie, so the video store didn't have to do it, and the next person who rented it didn't have to do it. There's a pay it forward just in watching a movie. You don't really get that by clicking on a YouTube video. Now, am I saying that VHS is better than modern digital video? No, not at all. Advancements can be good. I'm saying it separates the generations better than some made-up year. Just the effort to rewatch a VHS movie. You have to stop, hit the rewind button, wait 2 minutes for it to sound like it's going to blow up all the way back. Some of us won't even get off the couch to do anything because we have no reason to. You had to work a little harder to watch the movie. Same thing with the music. You had to work a little harder to make a mixtape You have two dual stereos with your cassettes. You play one, you hit the record on the other. We're essentially a miniature recording studio just to put our favorite songs from 3 different bands together. And we went from that to burning CDs. Try recording a movie on VHS, you had to have 2 VCRs. And you had to MacGyver it up and figure it out which one runs into the TV, which one runs into the other VCR. There's a lot of work. So between the work and the effort, just to watch a movie or put together a playlist, required a lot more than the generation today has. I believe that's why there's a little bit more work ethic. There's a little bit more effort put into things. It has nothing to do with date ranges on a calendar that some dude came up with. Now, what movies were you renting at the store on a Friday night? What video games were you doing? That also would determine what type of person you are in that VHS generation. If you're like me, it was all 80s, 90s action movies. Bruce Lee, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Rocky, Rambo, every Arnold movie ever made. Then you look at the sports figures, Bo Jackson, Boz, Mike Tyson, early UFC. It's a lot of testosterone-filled rage. So that group of people raised in that generation makes it easy to figure out why certain people are the way they are. And again, nothing to do with what year you were born in. The person who went and bought Disney movies didn't have the same characteristics as an adult as the person renting the Chuck Norris movies. 2 different people, 2 different styles of human. So I believe the VHS generation is the most accurate description of whatever time frame you want to put it together. Because if you can think about it, compare the VHS generation person to the great grandmother before then, who is probably no longer with us. Their characteristics were different. They were raised differently. Now, I believe the great grandmas before us had a harder life. Their work ethic was unmatched. But their survival adapting was less about adjusting and more about just bearing through hard times. The generation right now doesn't have the extra work and extra effort that it took to adapt, and they haven't had major significant changes. A series of significant changes. What they've had is iPhone to iPhone, the new iPad, Apple TV. Changes for sure. Nobody's saying one's better than the other. I think we can all agree the technological advances are pretty convenient. Now, at best, they were influenced by Marvel, but that's not the same as going through the hero arc of any Chuck Norris movie, of any Van Damme movie. It's not the same of following the early WWF days and the villain turns. It's not the same as being fascinated with early UFC and the no gloves, no rules days and figuring out which style was going to beat which style. John Wick is awesome, but it's not going to give you the same character growth as seeing the rise and fall of Mike Tyson when he would come out just black shorts and a towel. The patience that it took to be a part of the VHS generation really separates. You waited 4 months for the next UFC event on pay-per-view, hoping it wouldn't be banned in your state and you could still watch it. Or you missed it and you had to wait a few months and know a guy who knew a guy at the rental video store to get the VHS tape of it. You had to be very patient to be a part of the VHS generation. We don't see a lot of patience in today's day. We're too used to it. The generation today, the iPhone generation, is just too used to everything being right here. You don't even have to buy your own groceries now. You just click on the clicky click. Someone delivers them to you. You don't even shop for them. So the more you think about it, the pre-VHS generation, the post-VHS generation, but it's the ones who went through it, who grew up on it, you used the VHS tapes as a babysitter. You went to the rental store to rent 7 videos for $7 for 7 days. That generation is the most balanced. They are actually the most willing to change. They have the best adaptation and survivability from a Darwinian standpoint. Do we need to go back to VHS? No, we do not. We've evolved. It's better. But did it shape an entire generation of people? Yeah, it did. And I firmly believe it's far more accurate assessment than some date range. You can't do the dates. The dates are too messy. Culture, where you lived, how you grew up, all changed. It's a blend. Those years transition. But the VHS era, it makes perfect sense. What do you think? Comment below.